attorney, Mr. Lewis, Attorney Lewis Santana. Mr. Santana, Attorney Santana, do you want to make your case here?
Yes, good evening. And just for the record, I'm not an attorney, I'm an engineer representing Mrs. Ocho.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little there.
You're breaking up.
Can you hear me one time?
Mr. Chairman, he's the engineer and not the attorney.
I couldn't hear that either. What was that? Was that Flory?
Yeah, me. Yeah, he is the engineer and not the attorney.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Santana, do you want to, I'm not sure if we're having trouble with your audio, but you want to try and continue?
Yes, can you hear me well? I just want to make sure.
I believe I could hear you better that time. You want to continue?
Yes. This is an existing lot with 4,300, slightly over 4,300 square feet, and contains a two-family, which is a legal conforming use according to the zoning district, which is a apartment zone class 2. What Mrs. Ojo is proposing is to turn this into a three-family. The work, the determination by the Sexual Services concluded correctly that under Section 4.11, three-family is a permitted use, and there are not necessarily variances that will be required, but some of the dimensional requirements for this particular property are non-conforming. So the building is not conforming due to the dimensional requirements. One of them is the lot area, which the requirement is 50,000 square feet for an R4 district, and the other one is the rear yard, which is insufficient, and the front yard that is insufficient as well. The work that is going to be done is level 1 alteration and a change of occupancy. The existing non-conformities that will not be increased. The side yard are conforming, and the percentage of the gross floor area of the building with respect to the lot is also conforming, and so is the open space. So as you can see from—
Yeah, Ron, I'll wait till 6:30.
Okay.
Ron, 8:30. Wishful thinking on my part. 6:30.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we're opening the May 11th Board of Health meeting. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the April 13, 2021 minutes of the meeting. I'm looking for a motion when you're all set, Mike.
Motion to accept.
Okay, I'm relinquishing the chairmanship, giving it to Mike. I second the motion. I recapture the chairmanship. All those in favor? Aye. Second issue, Michelle, I believe you're going to speak of this. I saw the letter from the city attorney about the unclaimed body cremation request.
So
I'm going to let you talk about that.
Yes, please. I'd like to have her unnamed, please, due to all the people that I have on here. there was a resident of Lynn who was at Salem Hospital and who passed away in December of 2020. And when she was admitted to the hospital, she had no emergency contact information, and nobody has come to claim her 5 months later. So the funeral home is asking, apparently, and Attorney Lamanna can, if I say it wrong, let me know, that there's a general law 114 which authorizes the Board of Health to request cremation under the following circumstances, and that the unclaimed shall remain in location with the jurisdiction as received notice, and that provided we've waited more than 30 days, so we will, so if you approve it, I will be able to authorize to sign on behalf of the board.
So we're looking for a motion to authorize Michelle as the agent for the Board of Health to sign all documents relative to cremating of unclaimed bodies, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make that
So I'm
motion.
looking for a motion.
Yep, I'll make that
Okay.
motion.
Relinquish the chair. Okay, relinquish the chair. I second the motion. I recapture the chair. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Just for a point of information, there's no cost to the city, correct?
There is no cost to the city. Salem Hospital, I think, is Salem Hospital and the medical examiner's office are paying for that.
Beautiful.
Yep, no cost to the city.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, Four Winds Appeal.
And
Correct.
yes, and I will let Lisa. I will let Lisa talk to you about that.
Attorney Lamanna, jump in anytime if you feel the need to. I was notified by the supervisor of the food inspectors. So you guys may remember that we contract with Mogen to do our food inspections in the
Correct.
city. The supervisor for the inspectors who come to the city contacted me saying that there had been an issue with the food inspector during her routine food inspection at the Four Winds. And that she ended up leaving the inspection mid-inspection and not finishing it because she felt uncomfortable due to comments made by the owner of the establishment. So, I spoke to the supervisor, spoke to the inspector. I issued the orders that you guys received in your agenda for suspension for curtailment. We've discussed curtailment issues before at the board. Basically, when you're preventing someone from the Board of Health being able to go in under the powers of the state sanitary code and do their job. The owner of the establishment has hired attorney Steve Kiley to come in, and Steve Kiley is here to represent the owner. Through attorney Kiley, the owner has, made some apologies, asked me to express them to the food inspector. I think attorney Kiley could probably better represent how the establishment owner feels. As you guys know, my feeling is to do everything fair and square. Everybody gets the same treatment and people can come before the board for you guys to determine, what the final resolution of a situation is.
I just had one question, Lisa, before
Sure.
we allow the other side of the equation to speak. Regarding the ambient temperature, I'm a little confused with that. What's the difference between the ambient temperature and the food safety temperature that the inspector has to get?
So the ambient temperature is the temperature of the refrigerator as a whole inside. So if you open up the refrigerator and you just put your hand in there, that's the ambient temperature. When you put a probe into the food itself, that's the temperature of the food. So if you put a roast beef from your oven and your roast, let's just say the roast beef was 165 degrees, and you put that roast beef in the oven, in the refrigerator, and you went back 5 minutes later, the temperature of the roast beef is not going to be the same temperature as the air in the refrigerator, right? The temperature of the roast beef is going to be hotter because it just came out of the oven. And the temperature of the refrigerator is what's going to start to cool the roast beef down. you also wouldn't think to yourself, and this does happen, the temperature of the roast beef, the heat coming out of the roast beef is also going to bring the ambient temperature of the refrigerator down. So it's two temperatures. So the ambient temperature is like the air around us, and the temperatures of the food is what they're getting with the probe.
So what the refrigerator is responsible to have food at
Can
a certain
everybody
temperature?
please, everybody, you need to mute yourself, please. You need to mute yourself. Thank you. Sorry,
Okay, so
Ron.
Lisa? Okay. So the inspector is looking for a temperature of the food in the refrigerator that hasn't just come out of the oven. Is that correct?
The inspector.
I mean, I don't under what temperature other than, I'm sorry, what temperature other than the ambient temperature is the inspector actually looking for?
The temperature of
Food
the
temperatures
food
of the-
inside the refrigerator.
Okay, great. And that's different, obviously.
Correct.
Okay. Mike, any questions for Lisa? Once we have Mr. Attorney Kiley speak on the owner, I'm gonna leave the city, state your case and all that, and then we're gonna let him respond. So if there's any questions for Lisa now, I'd like to take those
Nope.
now if you can, Mike.
Ron, I'm good. I read through everything. I'm all set.
Okay, great. All right, Michelle, or Attorney Lamata, is there anything you want to say before the ownership gets going here?
No, I'd be glad to answer any questions after Attorney Kiley makes his presentation. But nothing to add. Lisa Tobin did an excellent job summarizing.
Okay, great. I just have one question for the owner before he starts. If he can hear me.
I can hear you.
How long has he been the proprietor of this business?
At least 10 years.
10 years, okay. Okay, Attorney Kiley, is it?
Yes, if I may. Attorney Steve Kiley, I live at 4 Lakeview Ave in Lynn. That's where my office is as well. Right down the street from the subject restaurant, the Four Winds. As I just said, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yep.
As I just said, Patrick DeBover is the owner of the real estate and also the proprietor of the restaurant known as the Four Winds Pub and Grill. He's been there for at least 10 years. It might be closer to 12. As I would imagine all of you are aware, he's made substantial improvements to the property. We all remember what the Four Winds used to be. It was just a little square box, and he's added a deck with kitchen facilities and storage facilities and so on and so forth. So he's made extensive improvements to the property. To the best of my knowledge, he's never had an issue with the health department in his 10 or 12 years in running the Four Winds. As Lisa explained, the ambient temperature is the temperature of the refrigerator, much like in our own personal refrigerators. When we open the door, it will oftentimes display a temperature. And that, I believe, is the ambient temperature. So the ambient temperature, or the temperature that the refrigerator in question is set to 38 degrees. The Code of Mass Regulations and the Food Code require it to be 41 degrees or lower, so he sets it at 38 degrees. The refrigerator in question is a 4-drawer refrigerator that is underneath the cooking grill. And I said to my client, I said, well, isn't that a little unusual? He said, on the contrary, this is how the units come. The units come with a grill on the top and usually refrigeration units right underneath it so that there's easy access to the food that they're going to cook. So, as I said, I don't believe there were any problems of this nature until perhaps 6 months or so ago. And the inspector would come in and say, well, the refrigerator is set at 38 degrees, but when I put the probe thermometer into a chicken wing or a steak tip or a piece of steak, it's registering 41, 42, 43. So there were several inspections. On all occasions, the ambient temperature of the refrigerator was set at 38. However, I guess due to opening and closing the refrigerator drawers during the course of being in food service, sometimes the products will not reach that 41-degree temperature that is required by the food code, and they might be at 43 or 44 or something like that. I guess that's almost to be expected because of the fact that you're opening the refrigerator drawers to take food out and closing them, and especially when you're in active, lunch or dinner service, that happens all the time. So in order to solve that problem, I have suggested to my client that he set the ambient temperature even lower, down to 36 degrees. And I believe he has done that. And indeed, there was an inspection on April 7th, which found that not only was the ambient temperature correct, but also the temperature of the individual food items as determined by the probe thermometer was also correct. So everything was found to be in compliance as recently as April 7th. And if you look at the April 7th food inspection report, you'll also see that there are some general statements made about the condition of the premises as a whole and how it's found to be in very good condition, and no other health hazards exist there. So I believe that by suggesting to my client that he reduce the ambient temperature setting on the refrigerator unit in question by resetting it at a lower temperature, that's going to alleviate this problem in the future. And in fact, that was demonstrated by the April 7th inspection. On the incident in question, which was on March 31st, when the inspector came in, my client was in active service. In other words, he was right in he does a big business between 1 and 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And he's fairly constantly busy. So he was in active service when the inspector came in. She did not introduce herself prior to commencing the inspection, which is what she's supposed to do. Now, on the other hand, I must say that, she has inspected this property on a couple of occasions. So my client knows who she is, but she didn't present her credentials as the Code of Mass Regulations requires. And when he walked into the kitchen at one point in time, he just saw her there inserting probe thermometers into, his steaks and steak tips and chicken and so on and so forth. He wasn't real happy about that he didn't know that she was going to be there or that she was there. But in any event, he made a comment to the effect that, well...
Excuse me, Attorney Kiley, can I just clear up, please, for Ron and Mike, that please understand that they do not announce themselves for an inspection, that it is unannounced, and that it is important that we go in at the times when it is busy during the lunch hour, the dinner hour, so that we can see how the employees are practicing their compliance that they're supposed to. So it doesn't matter whether, it was lunchtime. What mattered was the fact that she was doing an inspection.
I think you missed my point. The point is that she didn't announce herself to the proprietor when she came into the establishment, which is what she's supposed to do. I understand that the inspectors can come in at any time and don't have to let the proprietor know in advance that they're coming in. But when they do come in, they're supposed to let the proprietor know that they're there and that they're going to conduct an inspection, and that was not done. But in any event, that's not I don't think that's the be all and end all of this case, but that in fact is what happened. So he made a couple of comments. There was no face-to-face argument or anything like that, but he made a few comments that in retrospect, I certainly will admit were intemperate. I don't think he was happy about the fact that she just showed up and he wasn't aware that she was even in his kitchen when he first encountered her in the kitchen. But in any event, I've had several conversations with him. He's extended his regrets that the incident occurred. I've advised him that in the future he should try to refrain from any interaction with the food inspectors unless specifically asked a question by a food inspector. And he has agreed to take that approach. I have a suggested disposition or resolution of this case. I'll back up just a little bit. The initial, as I said, this is, I believe, the first time any type of sanction has been imposed or attempted to be imposed upon the Four Winds. And the initial recommendation was for a suspension for 3 days on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, that amounts to about $30,000, and it has the effect of being a $30,000 fine. He takes in about $10,000 a day on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the good weather, which is what we're hitting right now. And I think that's, I just don't think a suspension and the accompanying financial consequences are appropriate for this particular case, it being a first case where something like this has happened at the Four Winds. So I thought that was out of line, and its effect was rather drastic. My suggestion is this. My suggestion is that you accept the letter of Lisa Tobin for the file, that you not impose any sanctions, any suspension, or anything of that nature at this point in time. However, you do have the letter from Lisa Tobin in file, and if there are any future incidents of this nature, then obviously this letter is in file, and you could treat that as a subsequent offense, and appropriate action could and probably should be taken at that point in time. But I just don't think, given the totality of the circumstances, that a suspension is warranted for this first incident that has occurred. And so my respectful suggestion is that you accept the letter for the file, and we move forward. And based on my conversations and recommendations to my client, I doubt very much that you'd ever see him in here again in a situation such as this. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Chairman, any questions? Attorney LaMotta, any questions?
No questions, no.
Mike?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right, I have a few things that I want to review here. First time the owner spoke with the worker, they discussed about the ambient temperature. He says it's 38. That's what it is. This is according to the breakdown for the city. So, Attorney Kiley, if there's anything that the city is claiming was said or acted upon, if you when I'm finished, if you could correct me, and we'll discuss where we're wrong or how these facts listed by Lisa are incorrect. Second time, the owner says to her, "Can you come back and do the inspection when we're not in service?" Yeah, I understand, he's busy. He ain't got time for the inspector, but she's just doing her job. He goes on to say, you're an asshole for being here right now. It may be only one incident. That's one incident way too much in my mind. As far as when you start calling city inspectors names, that's a little bit over the top. He goes on to say, the chefs have been opening the refrigerator all day long. You're a liability in our insurance being behind the grill. I would like to see a letter from an insurance company that says that an inspector for the city public health department is a liability. I don't believe that's correct. I don't think we're really here arguing about the temperature. The temperature fix is obviously an easy one. I think the problem is the treatment of a public official trying to do her job. I'm in agreement with Attorney Kiley as far as Thursday, Friday, Saturday is exorbitant. I agree with that premise. Those are the 3 best days of the week with the COVID virus and everything. You're cutting the guy's throat twice. I don't think Thursday, Friday, Saturday is appropriate either. But unless I have proof, a witness telling me that this inspector was not called a name, that this inspector was not treated rudely, I'm still inclined to stick with the 3-day suspension. The only other mention I would like to make is that since December of 2020, there's been an issue with this 4-draw temperature. Again, according to the city records. Attorney Kiley, you got to understand, we listen to the staff. We assume the staff is not lying. Their job is to document and provide us the information for which to make some sort of a decision. Most people who come here are going to be suspended, do whatever they got to do to not come back because you're losing money. You're losing your own money. So it's not a good thing to do. So I blew enough hot air here, and I come from an inspection background. So I understand when people are upset or heated or surprised or whatever words you want to use to talk about when the inspector shows up unannounced. Still no reason to be disrespectful. The position commands a certain amount of respect from the get-go. And if you don't like what the inspector is doing, you call their supervisor and you complain. You don't call a person a name. You don't make someone feel harassed. And you don't not allow them to do the job that they're paid to do. That is my opinion. So if anyone else would like to further speak on the issue, I'm more than welcome to hear any input, response from either Lisa or Mr. Kiley or Mike. And after hearing all the sides, I will determine looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a comment if you don't mind.
Sure.
There was a tape. My client's security camera captured the incident on tape. I've shared it with Attorney LaManna. My client did not call the inspector an asshole. My client did say, "You're being a pain in the ass by doing this when we're in service." I don't know if that's a distinction, a difference without distinction or what, but he did not say to her, "You're you know what." He did say, "You're being a pain in the ass by doing this at this time." So I don't think that, I'm sure that Attorney LaManna can verify what I've just said, and that he did not use that terminology with her. The incident was rather benign. It's not like he was in there standing in front of her and berating her. He made a comment, he walked out. He made a second comment when he walked by again. So, the incident in the grand scheme of things was relatively benign. It certainly wasn't an incident where the proprietor of a food establishment was berating an inspector. He made a couple of comments that lasted about 5 seconds each, and that was the sum total of it. And he did not use the language that the inspector said he used, and that's verified by the tape of the incident that I've shared with Attorney LaManna.
Attorney LaManna, would you like to speak to that?
Right. Myself, Lisa Tobin, and Michelle Desmaris last week reviewed the tape. I would agree with my brother, Attorney Kiley, the term a-hole was not used. Watching the tape, I did not believe that the owner raised his voice in a threatening way. I would say that on 2 different occasions in front of the inspector, he made comments that were unprofessional and not taking into account the seriousness of the inspection process that is governed by the sanitation code and the food code. I was a bit troubled after the inspector had left. The owner made a comment that was audible, essentially to his staff, F her, I'm glad I scared her. That demonstrated at least on that date, a lack of respect of the inspector and lack of respect for the inspection process. I will put a caveat that the inspector had already left when that happened. I will say that, add to this, Attorney Kiley is correct that there's been an apology issued. I think everybody regrets, as an attorney for the city, it certainly is, an inspector should not feel intimidated or feel as if that she's being bullied at any inspection. It appears that the owner has recognized that he was out of line, apologized it, and it has made commitments moving forward to refrain from that activity and comply with the sanitation code. So there is, I think, there is a difference in how I read the report as far as loud threatening, but it certainly, the owner does not come across as a choir boy that was without any blame at all on the date of the inspection. I believe, the health director and Lisa Tobin, the city sanitarian, also watched that tape, and I think their opinions are just as valuable as mine on watching that tape.
Okay. I don't want to put you on the spot, Jim, but because we're going to make a decision either way, you have a recommendation to us?
You know, I do not step on the toes of this board. I think you've noted it's a first offense. I think you've noted that the temperature issue is probably not the driving force here. So some type of consequence, and that consequence may be except for the files, that if there is another event in the next year, the 3-day suspension plus additional discipline could be levied, or if you feel that that's insufficient, you know, something short of the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as you indicated, whether it's a 1-day, 2-day, earlier in the week, but I leave it to the sound discretion of this board.
Ronnie.
And I apologize, Jim, for putting you on the spot. I apologize.
Oh, no,
Lisa wants to say something.
Sure.
Ron, so I think that we've always worked together. The Board of Health has always been business friendly. I think we all know that having good businesses is good for our community. I take my responsibility to make sure that we're able to do it. They realize, oh my gosh, like, what have I done? I've just caused a situation here that maybe I hadn't been thinking about when the situation occurred. 2 weeks in a row. So financially, the hit isn't as bad. I just want to make it clear that I'm not necessarily what those actions were. I leave it to the board to determine kind of the policy and how they want to direct things for the city to go.
We've always made the statement of, we're not looking to put anybody out of business. We're not looking to handcuff people's ability to make a living, if you will. It bothers me that the report said something different from what actually happened. But again, I think any of us, if we walked into any city hall office and I don't know what to do here. I honestly don't. Part of me would really like to see us hold this in abeyance for a year and see what happens. I don't know.
Yep, I hear you. I think an important part of this whole thing is realize that. My cure for this, to me, would be a suspension on a Monday, whatever's the least busiest day of the week for him. We have to support the staff somewhat if they feel disrespected. Whether you intended to be disrespectful or not, I mean, in the heat of the moment, you say stuff, you don't mean to be mean to the person, but what you say could offend somebody, especially if you're a government official coming into a place as an authoritative figure. You get touchy, you know? So, look, we're never going to be here again with this guy, I would hope, I would think. And normally when we work things out with people, we don't. I believe Mondays or Tuesdays, Attorney Kiley could tell us better, whatever the worst day of the week is, but I do think it warrants a minimum of a 1-day suspension. Just to back up the employee and to not, and the reason why I'm saying the least busy day, happened, as you said, Mike. So I don't know if Attorney Kiley would like to speak to the 1-day best day for us to put in a motion.
A comment or two, and you know, I get it, and I get that inspectors need to be treated with respect, and you know, I've emphasized that. Things stick out here. What she said was said to her, wasn't said to her. Okay, which bothers me greatly. You know, if he had used that language and have been, you know, digesting for a while, that would be one thing. But what was told to Lisa Tobin was not what was said, and that's been proven by the, you know, I would assume, I'd have to check with my client, I would assume that Monday is probably the, you know, the slowest day revenue-wise, but you're still finding them by doing this, which just seems out of whack. I honestly think that accepting this for the file, you can say, well, look, Mr. DeBover, you did this back in March of 2021, and now you're here again in April of 2022. And so you really don't think that he deserves to be suspended. But by the same token, if you keep the letter on file, then, that's there. I don't mean to call it a sort of Damocles hanging over his head, but it's, he has to, be very cautious in the way that he deals with these inspectors. But I'm troubled by the fact that she said that something was said that wasn't. And that bothers me considerably, quite frankly, in this. And I'm very glad that I had the tape of the incident.
But Attorney Kiley, it also bothers me that he said at the end that F her, and I'm glad I scared her. So
Well, that was after she was gone, and it really.
He's not so innocent through this whole thing.
Well, I disagree with you.
All right.
Okay, Lisa, one more question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Has indeed some type of an apology or something been given to our agency or the inspector from the owner? I think Mr. Kiley alluded to that fact.
I did receive an email from Attorney Kiley stating that his client, was sorry for what had happened.
Good. Okay,
And
Mike.
I asked.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm looking at the email. It says, "Please convey Patrick's regrets to the inspector." So that was in my email to Lisa.
Yep, and I did do that.
Okay, Mike.
Yes, Ron.
I'm going to relinquish the chairmanship to you, and I'm going to make a motion.
Okay.
The motion, and we can speak on the motion before we vote.
Okay.
The motion is to uphold the recommendation of the sanitarian for suspension of Four Winds for, I don't have the legal language here. The letter denotes for the not allowing the inspector to peacefully do her job properly for 1 day, a Monday. Not a 3-day suspension, not a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So if anybody wants to speak on that motion, you can. Mike,
Yeah,
what you're feeling?
I'll second that for the purpose of discussion. If anybody has any, I'll relinquish the chairmanship, and I'd like to make a friendly amendment to that
Okay.
as well. We put. I'm trying to think of how I want to word this. We keep this on file for 2 years, and if another occurrence happens, a full 3-day suspension will be issued.
Okay. Let me speak on that point, Mike. If we have to remember everyone that we have to wait to fail the second time, we're never going to do it. Here's the thing. We can suspend anybody anytime we want if they do something wrong. So a year from now, if it happens again, we're going to treat it just like a brand new case, and whatever the facts are, that's what we're going to do. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Yep. All right.
Hello, can everybody please mute yourselves? Hello?
Michelle, you may be able to mute them yourself, actually.
I was,
Sorry.
Ron, as the maker of the amendment, I'll take that back.
oh, jeez. I muted Ron. Ron, I muted you. You have to hit the space bar.
Am I back?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
you are.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So what I was
Ron,
saying was that
Ron,
I
did
don't
you get
like
that?
the idea.
As the maker of the
Okay.
amendment, I'm taking that back. I'm rescinding that amendment.
Okay, but what I was saying originally is we can enforce any time, and I don't really think the board wants to get into remembering, what did we do last time? Should we increase it this time? It's all based on whatever happens on the particular incident. You know what I
Fair
mean?
enough. Yep, fair enough.
You know, I think it kind of got out of control. It got out of control. And I mean, I don't know what we, you know, again, the motion on the floor is a 1-day suspension for a Monday only. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Okay, I'm gonna take back the chairmanship. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Attorney Kylie, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen, for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jim, thank you very much.
Jim, are you staying on, I hope?
I am staying on.
Thank you.
Oh, you're having all kinds of fun tonight with us, huh?
Can't think of anything I'd rather be doing, Ron.
Oh,
Right.
Hey, congratulations. I heard you won a case this week, huh? Against Liberty Tax?
Oh, that's my colleague, James Wellock, had won that. So great work, teamwork between the health department and my colleague.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
I'm going to, moving right along, please, I'm going to ask Joyce to please state the case for the next, all the rest of the people that are on here.
From Vista Market, I want to talk.
No, sir, I'm
Hold on
sorry,
one second,
not
sir.
at the moment.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hello,
Joyce?
Joyce Redford, Tobacco Control Director for the Collaborative North Shore Cape Ban. We conducted compliance checks in the city of Lynn through the month of April. We had a 47% failure rate. And I just want to give everybody on the Zoom and at the meeting a little background on what we've done prior to the compliance checks that occurred. So if you do or don't remember, attorneys, individuals, whoever the board, on June 1st, 2020, the state law went into effect that prohibited all flavors, including mint, menthol, and wintergreen. They increased what used to be part of our regulation in terms of fines from the $100, $200, and $300 to a $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 fine. Because of this, we sent out notifications to all retailers, all 430 of them in our collaborative at the time, letters indicating that this change was coming. One was sent at the end of April in 2020, and one was sent at the beginning of May. The first one went out, I'm just going to hold it up. And my main reason for doing this is at the bottom, we highlighted that the fines were going up significantly, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. The second one was a duplicate of this letter indicating that the governor had signed an act of modernizing tobacco control, and that it was beginning June 1st, that it had, he had voted on this on November 27th, 2019, and that it was going to be in effect June 1st. In addition to that letter that we sent out twice, we sent out a very colorful graphic front and back that indicated all of the products that were going to be impacted, all the flavors from cigarettes like, menthol, Newport, Marlboro, etc., to flavors of any kind of any other product. And that only backed up what the city had done at the local level, the Board of Health had done at the local level, enacted October 1st, 2019. And for that preparation, we had, I believe, 5 or 6 trainings here at City Hall for all the retailers in the city. In addition to that, we've been out handing out signs, our inspector and myself, and one of there's like 5 new signs that are required by the state, and this is one of them. And we always point to what we want to draw your attention to is the fine amounts. They've changed, it's significant, it matters. So everybody who's here tonight, who's appealing their violation, has gotten all of this information. And in some cases, it's a first, second, or third violation. And if you have any questions as we go along, I'm happy to answer them.
So Joyce, is the change of the flavors causing the uptick of the 47%?
No, I do not
Is
believe
that
that
what-
has anything to do with it. I believe that
Okay.
retailers, this is just my belief. We haven't been out there. No one's been inspecting them, et cetera, because of COVID. And there's just been a
Right.
lax. And, to me, it's like, that's not a good reason. And these are products
Yep.
they were selling to someone underage.
I hear you. Okay. So you want to give us the first case and then we'll listen to you and then the owner, or how are we going to handle this, Michelle?
Well,
Actually,
I'm
Michelle.
sorry, Joyce, excuse me. Attorney Lamanna, and tell me if you disagree. Every single one of these people who are on have all the same issue. They all sold to a minor. They all received the information back last April of 2020. They received a second letter from Joyce in 2020. June of 2020 is when the governor changed the rules. So the governor changed the rules, the governor changed the fine amount. We didn't do it. The governor did. And then due to COVID, Joyce and her team were not able to go out and inspect. And then in April, when we have done a full round of compliance, 47% failed. But there were 53% who have done the right thing. So I think that for everybody who's here on this Zoom wanted to appeal their fine of $1,000. But all of them sold to a minor and they did not follow the rules. In which Joyce has been very, very good in making sure that they received letters beforehand, even during COVID, that they had received letters beforehand. And we did trainings here in City Hall and going out to the stores. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
And they're all first-time violators? 1,000?
No, that's actually something I want to speak to. They weren't all $1,000 fines. A majority were, but not everybody was at their first violation. And state law takes into consideration any, in the past 36 months, which was our regulation at the city and also the state level. So we did have a look back for some of them. And in some cases, the violation was so egregious that a fine was stacked. And that was run by Attorney Lamanna. There's a good reason for it. It was sold to a minor. The product was a prohibited product in terms of a flavor, and the product was above the nicotine level for a regular retailer. So in that case, it was an $8,000 fine and will be a 37-day suspension.
What business is that?
The gentleman is on, so I will say it was Roman's Market, and if we're going to get into the individual ones, I mean, obviously that person will be able to speak, but I will speak to that one. We had received complaints in the past about this establishment selling products that were prohibited, and at the end of March, we received information from the police department that they had a complaint as well. So this was not unique, this was not specific or targeted to this establishment. We were going out and doing compliance checks anyway, but that's exactly what occurred, what had been complained about. So just so you know, a majority of these violations are 1,000. There are a couple 2,000. There are some that are like 1,100 because they were in violation of selling to a minor, and then something else, part of our regulation, like a blunt wrap that has been banned, or other components of the regulation.
Good.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just for due process protections, I don't think you can take them all together. These are very serious allegations, and I can't imagine, a lot of the defenses will probably be the same, but I do think for a due process, we should take them one at a time, particularly since there's a few that fall into second, third violation or 2 or 3 violations. So it may make sense to, however order you have it, alphabetical or whatever order is on your agenda list.
Joyce,
Yeah, I agree 100%.
I'll just go through the list that I have here and I'll unmute one at a time.
Perfect.
Azar Ali. You need to
What
unmute
is the-
yourself, please. And you
What
need
was
to
the-
just tell me what store you're with. Mr. Ali?
Yep. Hello.
Hello, what store are you with?
I am in Lynn Market.
Okay. Are you on Market
38
Street?
Market Street. Yeah, 38 Market Street.
Okay.
Okay, hold on one second. Let's have Joyce tell us what happened at Lynn Market.
Well, these were all, I don't know how much detail you need. I mean, there was all that we sent a youth in and
No, I
a
just-
sale was made.
Let me interrupt you. I'm sorry. For the sake of expediency, I
Yep.
need the violation and the fine. That's it.
Okay. Let me just pull that up. I'll do it another way. I'm sorry. Didn't know how you were going to do this. So
That's fine. That's fine.
Look-
Don't worry.
looking on my computer now. Sorry. Lynn, 21. All right. Lynn Market. No, Lynn can read. Lynn Market. I do apologize. I'll be ready for the next one.
Okay.
So in this case, it was a first violation, sale to a minor, and the fine was $1,000.
Okay. Mr. Ali,
Yes, sir.
would you tell us why you feel you should not be fined
Actually,
and why it was not a violation?
yes. Actually, I've been here like almost 12 years. And Joey been there in my store a few times. Whatever the rule is, I always follow the rule. And this is my new employee. And I've been training him, which is very good. Like he understand everything. And in this night, actually, he was in a phone, which is I was looking in a camera, and his mom called him because she's looking for the ambulance because she can't breathe it. And at the same time, he give it to the cigar to the, obviously, he made a mistake and give it to the underage and don't ask him the ID. So once I find out what happened, and then just like I was trying to fire him, but then I just he's apologizing and everything. I made a mistake, and hopefully it's never gonna happen again. But the only reason which I'm trying to be putting an application for Joy, if she can give me a break. This is the first time I've been here 13 years, and she knows me very well. I mean, she come to the store, she always check everything, whatever she have to do. But that's the only thing I just want to say. If you guys just let me go the first time. It's been there for 13 years.
Okay. Attorney Lamada, I believe you can correct me if I'm wrong. The intent of not to do the wrong thing again is not grounds for us to not address an existing violation. I feel bad. The guy never did anything wrong for 12 years, but the violation is the violation. I mean, we don't have the authority to ignore a violation, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And we have no authority as a local board to change the fine either, correct?
That is correct. The state, in putting this together, they did not put, oftentimes there is an option for a warning for a first offense. We do that with litter and trash here at a local level, that we can give a letter of warning rather than a monetary fine, but that is not part of the fine structure here for selling to underage youth.
Okay. And Mike, you want to speak on this issue at all?
No, not at all.
Anyone else?
After hearing from the attorney, I don't know if a motion needs to be made. Attorney Lamanna, do we need to make a motion on this, or?
Yeah.
Yes, you can make a motion. They will, anyone aggrieved or not satisfied with their disposition today will have an ability to appeal to the district court. So a motion would be in order.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So I'll make the motion, Ron, that on the Board of Health level, the appeal is denied. And if they wish to appeal through the district court, they have that right.
Okay, so regarding the Lynn Market, we have a motion on the floor that says the original fine and violation is upheld. The appeal is denied. Heard that motion. I'm relinquishing the chairmanship. I second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I'll take back the chairmanship. Second case, Mr. Ali, I appreciate your 12 years of good work. I apologize. It's kind of out of our hands. It's not a, do we feel like giving you a break type thing. If the violation's there, unless you can show us that the violation's not there, we almost don't even have any choice, from what I'm hearing. And I could be wrong. But.
And Mr. Chair, if I could just add for all cases, if anyone is, or I'll send it to anybody, no matter what the outcome, we'll send a letter. So if you choose to go to district court, you'll have what you have to do in order to have that happen.
Okay, Michelle, the next.
Next one is Cal's News. Barry Calvani is here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Attorney Michael McDonald here with Mr. Calvani, if I may be permitted to speak on his behalf.
Excuse me, do you want to hear the violation?
Before you get started, Mr. McDonald, let's have Joyce just say what happened, the date and all that happy stuff.
Yes, sir.
So the date was April 12th, and it was a second violation, which is $2,000. And the first violation that occurred was a humidor being opened. It's not the first time we've had issues with this humidor. And like I said earlier, the state law does not take into account, like, what happened before the state law. It's just a continuum. We look back 36 months. The city has looked back 36 months for a few years now, and the state in their new law also has a look back, a tolling period or a look back of 36 months.
And so what is the total fine for the Calvani case? What's the total fine?
$2,000.
And a 7-day tobacco suspension.
And a 7-day suspension, correct. My apologies.
What else? What was I missed that last part. I'm sorry.
And a 7-day tobacco sale suspension.
Right.
Okay.
Which for a second violation is both, is in your local law, and it is stated, suspension language is also part of the state.
Okay, Attorney McDonald.
If I may be permitted, thank you. I believe most of you are familiar with Cal's News. They've been a staple in Lynn since 1937. They're down in the Olympia Square area. My office happens to be directly across the street at 431 Washington Street. And it's a family-owned business from Barry, who's on with us on Zoom, his father, his uncles, and there's a couple of other people who run it when the family can't be there. As you enter into the store, there's a news rack, there's lottery sales to the left, there's sodas and refreshments, and on the side of a dividing wall, there's all kinds of various magazines. As you get to the end where the lottery ticket area is, there is an adult only section. And in fact, a couple of years ago, when Miss Redford had visited the store, it was suggested that they chain off that area specifically and put up the sign 21 plus only, which Mr. Calvani has pictures of all this. But of course, because of the nature of how we're doing business right now, he could show them on the Zoom, but he has a chain up and he has a 21 plus. What happened? And in the last 36 months, other than what is in front of the board tonight, there's been no infractions or suggestions of infractions. The two that are before the board happened in succession. He bought a brand new humidor in the beginning of March, the first week of March. The difficulty was when he bought it, it did not come with a lock. He went out to Lowe's, he went out to Home Depot, he went out to Peabody Glass looking for a lock to put on the humidor. On 3/13, a rep from the city came in and verbally stated to him, the humidor needs a lock. By the following Monday, he found one online and purchased it, and it was delivered by the 23rd and installed. So by 3/13, he was able to find it. And again, it's in a locked off area. It did not come with one. He did not have one, but it wasn't for lack of effort. On 3/25, and this is an aside, a rep from the city came and thought they had found cartridges that contained THC. They were actually confiscated and brought to the Lynn police station and Lieutenant Reddy. Mr. Calvani immediately went over there, had a discussion with Lieutenant Reddy, had Lieutenant Reddy call the distributor and get him to understand that these are empty cartridges with nothing, no product in them, that they sell for $4.95. And he tried to relay this to Miss Redford and even tried to explain and give an example so that in the future she might understand the distinction between the two. So the day after that, he receives a $100 citation for the humidor, a violation of the city ordinance. Now, I'm sure that everybody is aware, forget the destruction in all of our businesses and operations of everyday life, but the construction that has gone on down there, the sidewalks being torn up, inability to have customers coming in and out, and it has been destroying all of our businesses. And so on 4/12, his uncle was running the store until 6 o'clock, and at 5:41 p.m., his uncle did sell to a minor. The city says that he has a photograph of the person at 5:41 that came in winter clothes, in a mask, receding hairline. The only he did responsible, not trying to make an excuse. The uncle should have asked for identification, but when questioned by Barry, the uncle said, the guy looked like he was in his 30s. And, he made a mistake. He made a terrible mistake. In my discussions with Ms. Damaris and Ms. Redford have been explained that a violation under the CMRs is considered an additional violation, which can make 2 significant fines and cause the 7-day tobacco sales suspension. Mr. Calvani has clearly made it frank to anyone who's there that if you look 40 or under, mask, no mask, beard, no beard, they have to be ID'd. But with the humidor, there was an option that he could have been given a warning. And had he been given a warning, we probably would not be here tonight. He accepts full responsibility for the sale to that minor. But the way that COVID has attacked business and the way the construction has hurt business, and a business that has been a staple in Lynn since 1937 as a family, it's been my experience in being where I'm at now for 18 plus years, that they've had nothing but good faith in trying to operate their business under the rules of the law. So Mr. Calvani would ask that there be something that either the humidor lock be put to a warning or put on the table, and the sale to the minor remain, which would eliminate, I believe, my understanding, the 7-day loss of the ability to sell tobacco, or some fashion that would resolve him essentially having to shut down the tobacco part of the store, which, as you can assume, is a big draw for lottery and a big draw for the other products that he carries. And again, I don't think that there's anything in the history of Cal's News that suggests they've ever acted in bad faith in Lynn. They did make the mistake on 4/12. There's no getting away from it. And he's asking as much for consideration and a little mercy on this. And if Mr. Calvani would like to add anything to what I have said, I would remain quiet at this point.
Harry?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. As Attorney McDonald has explained, I'm put in a very difficult situation with the lock on the humidor being viewed as an equivalent infraction of selling cigarettes to a minor. I've worked with Joyce for many years. She and we've talked. I think we have a pretty good rapport. I respect the fact that she has a job to do and she does it darn well. I don't hold that against her. We work together. We have worked together. She's used my store in the past as a backdrop for a compliant store for photo shoots, etc. I'm sick over this, that a lock on a humidor, a newly installed humidor. So I think, Joyce, you mistakenly had said earlier in the discussion that this humidor had been a problem in the past. This is a new humidor. It was just placed in there, as he said, like a couple of months ago, and there has been no problem with that humidor. I've accepted your recommendations to my business. It's, the chains across the humidors and whatnot. We do what we have to do to get by. So be it. I just cannot stomach that a lock on a humidor, a newly installed humidor, is the equivalent of selling cigarettes to a minor. It shouldn't be this way, but it is. If you get your first infraction for selling cigarettes to a minor, natural instinct is you go next level with your compliance as a store owner. I crack the whip with my employees. I was not afforded that opportunity. I did not think that the humidor issue would translate into a second offense of selling cigarettes to a minor. That's what I have to say. Also concerning to me, these are unprecedented times. I don't know why we need to do compliance checks to send people into my store with a mask on, and the result is a 47% failure rate. And I don't know your business, but I would say that is probably a pretty high percentage of your typical compliance check. And again, that's all I have to say. I support what you do. I do. And you're doing your job, and I'm trying to do mine, is all I have to say. Thank you, Joyce, and thank you, board members.
If I could, to the board, what Barry said about using his establishment as a backdrop has happened. DPH asked us, he agreed. That was a few years ago. There have been other violations, and we have spoken about the humidor. It wasn't that one, but it was another one. The issue is not the humidor. The issue is that it's been consistently, or somewhat consistently, problematic in the past, being unlocked, and the chain wasn't up when we did an inspection. And this isn't like personal to me against Barry, and I understand that, but you have a business to run and I have a job to do. The other thing, I'm going to speak to two things, Barry, because you brought them up, but they are to everybody. In unprecedented times about COVID, the entire world has been impacted negatively, the world, by COVID. There's no denying that. But the retail establishments were considered essential and were open through COVID the whole time. So for every reason, I believe all of the retailers should covet what you have that you sell that's adult only. That would be lottery in your case, and tobacco, of course, and in others, it's tobacco, lottery, and alcohol. So that's not just to you, Barry, that's to everyone on the call or everyone in the meeting. Unprecedented times, I agree. And the other thing is state law, local law, all require you to ask for an ID. And whether you have a mask on or not a mask on, and every one of your customers should have a mask on all day long, every day, you should ask for the ID. That's not just to Cal's News, that's to everyone, because that came up in other establishments. Well, they had a mask on. They're required by state to have a mask on in your establishment. You're also required to ask for an ID. And that's all I have to say.
Are we still?
Okay, Mike, before you get going.
No.
Hold on, Mary. Hold on, Mike. Mike, hold on, please. Joyce, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Could we have issued a warning on the humidor for the first time, knowing that it was a new humidor?
Well, we didn't know it was a new humidor, first and foremost. And like I said, this was a problem in the past.
If we knew it was new, could we have given them a warning, say, get a lock?
No, your regulation, the local regulation doesn't have a warning in it. And that's because we've been doing this for 30 years, and warnings, they know what the warnings are. They know they're not supposed to be unlocked. So your regulation says no, or doesn't give you, it doesn't say no, it doesn't give you the option. It says fine, first, second, third.
The
That's
certificate,
the state law. There's no warning in the state law either.
the certificate that was handed to him has a box for a warning.
If I may, this is the citation, and there is, in fact, a location that you would check void or warning on the citation that I received for the humidor. And if I know this is probably like a generic city citation.
It is a generic one.
Yeah. So, but, it does say that, one of the options is a warning on the citation. Whether you do that or not, that's, I don't know.
I think that would depend on the regulation, Barry. Like somebody indicated earlier, there are warnings for, I think, trash or something. So depending on the regulation or the ordinance, whether or not there'd be a warning issued.
Well, I mean, to be truthful with you, just what I thought was a verbal warning on that day. Again, it happened on a Saturday afternoon, and I didn't find out about it until Monday. I thought it was quite simply a verbal warning or a verbal recommendation, or whatever we want to term it, to which I immediately responded and got the lock for the humidor. It was not the easiest thing to do. I did find a lock for the humidor. And only when I spoke with you that following Friday regarding the concern you had for the vape tanks, did you tell me at that time, oh, by the way, you have a citation that you should probably receive in the mail tomorrow? And I was blindsided by that. I certainly didn't know that, that would incur a violation or a citation. But, that's how I found that out anyways.
Joyce, can I ask you a question, please? Are humidors supposed to be locked? Yes?
Yes. It's both in state law and local law. It's self-service.
Okay, so with that, then it's a store owner's responsibility to lock a humidor, whether it's a new one, an old one, a used one, it's their responsibility.
The fact is, he shouldn't have put tobacco in it until he bought the lock. That's the fact, because the whole time it was unlocked, it's considered self-service.
Okay.
Although if the chain is up, we've mentioned to him that that's a way to safeguard. I have been in there on an inspection and told him one of the things he could do is put up a chain and say adults only. But if the humidor is open, if the chain is open and the humidor is unlocked, then it doesn't matter whether there's a chain,
Okay.
if it's open.
Okay.
If I may just, I have, a picture of the area in question, and I have a sign here that says nobody under the age of 21 past this point. There is adult material on this wall and tobacco products on this wall. And, you know, all of my employees know that, you know, we police that, you know, thoroughly as to not let anybody past that point. It's a very narrow egress to the area. And, you know, again, you can probably see in the picture that, you know, the humidor is like half full because I have to put the cigars in the humidor once I buy them in order to keep them fresh, so on and so forth. You know, I just think that, if I may, the punishment doesn't fit the crime, if you will.
So what Mr. Calvani is asking, is there any way that something could be fashioned? He accepts responsibility that he did not live up to this. Could one be tabled and held in abeyance and pay the fine on the other and him remain able to continue with tobacco sales? It's the draconian nature of what, and I'm not getting into a fight with anyone or argument because I'm reasonably stable person. COVID has gotten all of us, and whether or not shops have been open or not, businesses have not run normally. There was a time when COVID spread, there was no one on the streets. So you might have been open, but you weren't serving people. But it's a first time for all of us. I'm 63. I've never seen anything like it. That's an aside. I apologize.
Attorney LaMotta, I think I asked you this question before too. Do we have any wiggle room once the violation is issued?
There's no wiggle.
Can we do what they're requesting? Abstain from the lock so he doesn't lose his 7 days? Do we even have that authority?
In this situation, unfortunately, for Mr. Calvani, he's admitted to 2 violations. So there is, under the city regulations, Board of Health regulations, and our state regulations, there is no ability to waive or give a warning as opposed to a fine. It did sound from what Joyce was stating that there may have been some warnings in the past with the humidor, some breaks that may have been given, and with some teaching with respect to chain can serve as equivalent of a lock. Am I correct on that, Joyce?
Yes.
So it's the opinion of the law department that this board, when in a case where there's no evidence that the violation didn't occur, that you have no discretion to waive the penalty and reduce the penalty.
So I think you answered my question 100%, and I thank you. Unless the aggrieved party who's appealing can prove that we were wrong in our issuing a violation, we're kind of like just go through the motion. I mean, unless there's extenuating circumstances that the board's not aware of that would not hold the owner responsible, we're kind of, and I think that Michelle knows that. That's why she tried to get everybody to go through on one swoop. You know, we are really tied. Barry, you know this. Years and years ago, we had an issue and we were able to bend a little bit, but with new regulations that have been put into place, we don't have the judgment call, and I believe that's the right way to go. It shouldn't be in our hands whether, you know, you're good to the community, you're good to everybody, you're a affluent business that the city needs. All those things are good things, and nobody disagrees with that. But unfortunately, with this structured fine, takes the judgment out of it from the board, and quite frankly, that's really the fairest way, because we shouldn't give someone a break because we know he's a good business and not give someone a break because he's a bad business. It should be, if you do the violation, you do the violation. And I understand the law kicks you into the 7-day.
It's disgusting, Ron. It's disgusting.
You know, and I know it sucks, but you also know there was a threat to close you down several years ago and we said, because I know you, Barry, you're a good guy, you do the right thing, you're top shelf. And we said, don't come here because we're going to be handcuffed because we're going to pass regulations that are going to make us do what we have to do. You know what I mean?
I understand.
I don't see any wiggle room for the board. That's what I'm.
May I
So
ask?
in order of time, please, I would ask that you go ahead and make a motion.
Sure. Go ahead, Mike.
Before we make a motion, and this is to Attorney Lamanna, and I want to ask this, given the fact that we have no wiggle room and so on and so forth, I understand that. Attorney Lamanna, what I'm asking is that I happen to be close personal friends with Barry Calvani and have been for 35 years. Is there any conflict of interest in me being involved in making this motion and doing this vote? Or should we delay this until next month when our third member is in so I can be excused from this?
If you feel your relationship is such with Mr. Calvani that long-standing friendship, I would recommend that this matter be on the April agenda, and you'll be able to recuse yourself, and it could be happen at that time.
All right. So then, should we make that as a motion to delay the hearing of Cal's news until the May meeting? The June meeting.
I was going to say.
We have no.
Jim, do we need to make a motion saying that we were going to table it?
Motion to table.
Okay, Mike.
So
Can
can I just ask though, why did you wait an hour, Michael?
I waited just so we could hear everybody else speak. I didn't know if I could wait, if it was an issue or not. So, but I wanted to be transparent and upfront with everybody as well.
Next, Attorney Lamanna, can I move on?
We need a motion.
A motion to table, and if I could just state, the legal opinion won't change between now and June. So if there's a week that is a traditionally slow week, that you may want to just take the week suspension between now and June. But motion to table and then move on. This is a lot more, I agree with the health director.
The next one up is Brookside Liquor. I do not know who you are, so if you could state your name, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Your name, please?
Yes. My name is David. Last name Van. I'm the owner and manager here.
Joyce, go ahead, please, with Brookside.
The compliance check was conducted April 6th, approximately 8:16, and it was a first violation for $1,000. I will just add that the gentleman who's here did come into the office, and he showed me footage from his establishment, which in the time frame he gave did not show anybody in his establishment. And one of the issues is we do these things live, on a cell phone out, and I told him he should create a larger window. And in fact, that's what had happened. We went around the corner and it didn't, the inspection sank later than the actual violation occurred. So his window had to be a little greater. And I concede that did happen.
Was the actual violation sale to a minor?
Yes, these all were a sale to a minor. That's the minimum piece. There are some additional pieces in some of them, but in this case, it was a sale to a minor.
Okay, the owner of Brookside Liquor, do you want to tell us why you should not be cited, why the citation was incorrect?
Yes, sir. Good evening. So, yes, I went to the office and showed the lady, Joyce, sorry, what do you call it, the security footage. And so after upon taking her advice to widen the what do you call that, the security time frame, so I came back and also I did just that, and I did recorded video of a wider time frame. I was wondering if I could show you guys and gals.
Well, hold on 1 second.
Yes.
So you're claiming that you never sold to a minor?
Not, well, I don't recall such an incident personally, and I had to go back to see the security footage. And during the security footage I saw, I did not see anybody. Well, there were a couple of customers, but they were all regulars and adults I know that way over the age of 21.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, if I could, for the safety of the minor who was involved in the compliance check, no video of that person should be shown unless they want to submit that to the board for a later date. But I will tell you that I have been trying to take photographs when a violation occurred, and I have a photograph of Brookside. I'm not going to show it, but I know the detail timestamp was 7:54. So that time frame might have been about 10 or 15 minutes off from the time, we wrote on the citation and the time the violation would have occurred and sunk up. But this was a live picture, and I'm happy to show the board or anybody if they want to see it. But any footage of our young people should not be shared on a Zoom call.
Yeah, we don't want to see any pictures. Joyce, you have a citation from one of your employees that said he did in fact sell to a minor, correct?
I lost my picture.
Not a citation, a visit. Yes, I was with them.
Yeah.
I was there on all of these compliance checks.
So you have a citation and you have a form and you have a process that says that that a minor was sold cigarettes from Brookside Liquor, correct?
Correct. And I have the evidence.
I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to deny the appeal and uphold the fine.
Relinquish the chairmanship, second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Sir, sorry. May I say something?
You've been denied, sir, because the citation did occur. I mean, you could say something, but the government agency in charge of doing these checks has told us, the board, we don't go on the checks, that indeed there was in fact a sale to a minor. We have to go by what they say. I mean, they're the ones that make the report. They're the ones that make the inspection. So you could say whatever. You could say, yes, you can say something if you'd like.
Right. Excuse me. Yes, I understand they were doing, I guess they're doing their job. And again, I reviewed the video myself and I did not see such sale. So I can show you the video and to prove what I'm saying.
So, sir, my only concern is the fact that when you say that your regulars come in, do you card your regulars come in the way that you're supposed to?
Hold on, time out, Michelle. Time out, please, everyone. We're not going to rediscuss this case. There was a violation according to the person who's in charge of the enforcement checks. We believe the entity that said there was a violation. There was a motion on the floor to deny the appeal. I allowed this gentleman to make one more comment. It's not his word against her word. Her word is the government agency that says he did the violation. I apologize for cutting you off, Michelle. This case is done. Let's go to the next case, please.
The next person I have is Dolores Vena something. But I'm not sure if she's a store owner or if she was just, I know I had sent her the link earlier. Dolores, can you unmute yourself, please, to at least just tell us that you are just watching or if you have an issue?
I don't have an issue. I was just a homeowner and I wanted to see the board. That's all.
Thank you. Next person is Gildemi Espinal. And if you could just tell us what store you are with, please.
Hi, I'm with El Patio Market.
Hi, this is Attorney Joe Simons for El Patio Market.
How you doing? What was the name of the market again? I'm sorry, what was the name of the market again?
El Patio?
Oh, El Patio.
Yep.
Okay, and where's it located?
209 Washington Street in Lynn.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Joyce, the enforcement officer, talk about the violation quickly, and you're gonna have a chance to give proof that the violation is incorrect, and we'll take it from there. Go ahead, Joyce.
Sure. The compliance check happened April 12th at approximately 6:30 p.m. and it was their second violation, so it's a $2,000 fine. Second violation within 36 months.
Second violation, what was the actual violation? Sales to a minor?
Yes.
Okay, the owner of El
Is there a
Patio,
suspension with this?
There would
I'm
be a
sorry, come
7-day
again?
suspension. I apologize.
Would be a 7-day accompanying suspension with a finding of fault.
Yes.
and what was how much is the fine? Two?
$2,000. Yep. And a 7-day suspension would also occur.
Okay, so the attorney for El Patio, could you tell us what grounds or what information you have to lead us to believe that this violation did not occur?
Sure. May I just inquire a few questions of Joyce?
Well, you have to, you're speaking to the chairman first, so you need to tell me why you feel the violation is not correct.
Well, my understanding of the case law is that the Department of Health has to have substantial evidence to show to the board to this board in order to find a violation. So I had a few questions about what the substantial evidence is specifically.
Okay, and we'll get her to talk about that.
Okay.
Again, remember, we go on recommendations and information fed to us by the enforcement agent. And from what I just asked her, I believe that it was a second violation of a sale to a minor. That kicks in the 7-day suspension and the $2,000 fine. I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, attorney, and let Joyce, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You have paperwork that says that on April 12th, there was a second violation of sales to a minor, which kicks in a second offense, resulting in a $2,000 fine and 7-day suspension. Is that correct? Is that what the report reads?
That is correct. And just for the board's information, the substantial, just for some background, our youth are trained. They take an FDA training. They have a training, FDA Food and Drug Administration at the federal level. They have to go through an online training. They train with us. They're escorted on compliance checks. We give them the money. They go in and ask for the product. They come out with it. I sent the attorney the evidence.
But I don't mean to interrupt you. You don't have to prove to me that you're doing your job the right way. We've been doing this a long time. I think the attorney has the right to know the process. But the same question is, we have to have the board prove that the violation never occurred. So I'm going to cut you off, Joyce. I'm going to bring back the attorney for El Patio. And I don't know if her answers to me answered your question, sir. But I think what we really need for us to be able to do anything, I don't know if you've been listening to all these hearings, the board has no wiggle room on a violation. The board sees a violation from the enforcement agency and must act accordingly. So your job is, as an attorney for El Patio, to tell us why did they not sell to a minor and why is it not a second violation?
Sure. And respectfully, my interpretation of the law isn't quite as clear cut as us having to prove that it didn't occur. I think that there still has to be substantial evidence that the violation did occur. So I'm left without knowing what this person appeared to look like, what age they were, because there's some conflicting CMRs. For example, according to 940 CMR 21.04 subsection 2 subsection B, anyone appearing under 27 years old doesn't have to be identified according to the state law. So I understand that the strict violation of the CMR that my client's being accused of violating appears to be pretty straightforward, but I would argue that given the conflict, the benefit of the conflict should be given to my clients, and that there has to be some information about who this person was. Maybe not the identification, but who they appeared to be. What age did they appear? When did they go in? What were they wearing at the time?
Attorney, you can also appeal that in court.
Oh, I know I can, but I think when I appeal to court, it comes down to what was presented at the hearing today. So I'm trying to both preserve my client's rights in order to do that, but I'm also hoping to prove to this board that there's not substantial evidence, or at least inquire. I don't know. I think
If I could, just one thing, the most important part of state law and local law is all you have to do is ask for an ID. Our youth do not carry ID, and he was not asked for an ID, and he's not of age. He's under 21. That's substantial enough in my eyes, and I'm sure in the eyes of the state law.
I would recommend that photographs of the underage patron be submitted to the board for their review in camera, so they can make a determination on their own whether this minor appeared to be above 27 or not, and then that should satisfy the substantial evidence if the board looking at that photograph and not invading the privacy rights of a minor that's taking part in these enforcement operations. That should satisfy the substantial evidence component if it chooses to go to district court. And if we go to district court, we can ask the clerk or the judge for the same considerations that if we reviewed in camera so that the minor's identity is not revealed.
if I could, I'm sorry, one more thing about, just to preserve I think I see how this is going, but I want to be able to present that substantial evidence isn't just a summary. And I'm not, Joyce, I don't know who she is. I've never met her. I'm not suggesting she's not truthful at all. What I'm suggesting, though, is now we've got this public hearing. My clients are entitled to substantial evidence. And I think the conclusory statements aren't enough by law. Again, I don't know who was observing this youth. Did they see him go in? How long was he in for? Were they watching him the entire time? From what vantage point were they able to see him? I mean, there's a whole lot that I want to ask, but it sounds like I may not be great.
Well, I would recommend my brother be able to ask those questions if he so chooses, and Joyce can answer the process with respect to that.
Okay, hold on, Jim. If Joyce is the director of the tobacco enforcement program, and she comes to my board and says that her employees have cited somebody for selling to a minor, don't you think that all that proof that we're talking about has to happen in court, not here?
No, they have due process rights, and they can certainly pursue these questions.
Okay.
They have a legal right to whether. It sounds like it's more of a fishing expedition, but my brother has absolutely the right to ask those questions.
Okay.
And the right to go to an appeal afterwards.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, ask Joyce.
All right, thank you. Hi, Joyce, can you hear me okay?
Can.
All right, hi. Again, I'm not trying to impugn anything about you. I'm just trying to ask questions to substantiate if there's substantial evidence. Who was it that observed this youth buying the tobacco products?
I was.
Okay, and in what?
I provided the money that they use. Like I indicated, they go through training. I observed from a very close proximity. The time of night it was dark enough to be right in front of the establishment or pretty close.
Okay, and about what proximity would you have been to the establishment?
Oh, I don't know, maybe 2 car lengths at the most.
Okay, and were you able to have a clear vantage point to see the transaction with the cashier?
No, I saw the youth go in and come out. The windows of the establishment aren't that, they're not gleamingly open.
Okay, so isn't it possible that the youth could have gone in and convinced another customer to make the purchase on their behalf?
No.
On what basis do you make that conclusion?
Working with these youth for 5 years, their extensive training, that we do hundreds of these per year. He's upstanding.
How many transactions has this youth particularly made on your behalf?
Oh, I don't know a number, but hundreds. I mean, when a youth works, I cover 430 establishments, and he's been and we have to do at least 1 or 2 compliance checks a year. He's been working with me. I mean, there are other youth who work with me as well, so I can't even guess the number, but many, many.
This particular youth, though, hundreds?
Probably 100.
Okay.
I mean, I could come up with an exact figure, but just not today because I wasn't prepared to answer that question. But our youth are identified on our database, and as we enter them, we know what youth went into what location when.
Excuse me, let me interrupt for a second, please, as the chairman. Joyce, is this young man who did the compliance check been trained and considered qualified to perform the duties?
Absolutely, both at our level and on the FDA training.
Okay, that's it. I just need a yes or no. Yes or no. Yep. Okay. Go ahead, attorney. Keep asking.
All right, thank you. How long was the youth in the store for before he came out?
Minutes. I don't know the exact amount of minutes.
Okay. Were you able to see the youth in the store at all?
I saw him enter the store.
All right. If you didn't know the youth's age, how old would you say that the youth appears to be?
I can't guess anybody's age. That's why we require that you ask for an ID, because some people who are 30 look like they're 12 and some people who are 12 look like they're 30.
Okay.
The bottom line is he's a minor.
Can I ask how old the youth is?
20.
All right. Did the youth describe who sold him the cigarettes?
I can get you that information. Yeah, I mean, they give us a little bit of a description, yes.
Well, can I ask this? Is there any sort of a write-up? I mean, do you write up sort of a summary report after each of these transactions?
They go into a database and the notes, so it's like, if there was no sale, we ask female, male, adult, older adult, younger adult, those kind of things. If something you need, we take more information when there's a sale made.
Okay.
She has a copy of the product that was sold.
Yeah, that's here.
Okay.
I sent you a picture of that today.
And I appreciate it. Thank you. Is there any verification, though? Meaning, do you go in the store at any point after the transaction or before the transaction is made?
No, we do not.
Okay. So you didn't actually go in to verify that that particular brand of cigarettes was even being sold in the store on that day?
No.
Okay. Those are all the questions that I have. Thank you, Joyce, for indulging me, and thank you, board, for allowing me to ask the questions.
Great. Okay, Mike?
Sorry, those are the questions, but I just would like to point out, I think there was discussion earlier about the board's hands being tied. First, I'd argue that there's not substantial evidence for a violation, but even if the board finds a violation, I would just point out that the CMR that we're dealing with, that my clients are being accused of violating, 105 CMR 665.045 subsection A, subsection B, says the $2,000 fine is required. I don't dispute that, but it does say that the 7-day suspension is not required. It's something that the board may do, but is not required to do. So first, I'd ask that the board not find my clients in violation. And second, if found in violation, I would ask that the 7-day suspension not be imposed. Apparently the initial suspension or admonishment was about 2 years ago. Other than that, I'm not aware of my clients ever being in violation of any Board of Health regulations or any other state laws.
And in Mass state law, it says if a local board has a regulation, they can go by that. The city of Lynn has had this suspension language that superseded the state law going into effect. And if I may, just because you asked about a description. I have a description, and the gentleman it was an adult male, and he was not wearing a mask at the time of the visit. So we do take information from the youth when a sale occurs, if that's any help. He was shorter, gray facial hair. And this is what the youth gives us when they come back to the car.
Okay, everybody set? Mike?
Motion to deny the appeal and uphold the $2,000 fine and the 7-day suspension.
Relinquishing the chairmanship, seconding the motion. I'm recapturing the chairmanship. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Michelle, next.
I don't know who it is, but it says Galaxy S10 phone. Whoever is Galaxy S10.
Yeah, Osvaldo Vasquez, you listen there?
Could you, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, and you are who and what store, please?
I'm calling from my family corner grocery 2 and Lynn. I'm located in 624 Boston Street.
I'm sorry, could you say your address once more, please, sir?
624 Boston Street, Lynn. Is family corner grocery 2 and multi-services.
Okay. Joyce?
Yeah,
Joyce. Hold on one second, sir.
Yep, so on April 6th at approximately 5:30 p.m., the violation occurred, and it's a first violation of $1,000 sale to a minor.
Yes,
Hold on one second, sir. Hold on one second, sir. Hold on one second. First violation of a minor, and you said a $1,000 fine?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know if you've been listening to all these hearings, but basically what the board is looking for is for you to inform us as to why the violation did not occur or that the violation is incorrect. That's what we're looking for. Okay?
Okay. What is we appeal is because when it's a violation, there used to be a report that they give it to us and the store right away as soon as the violation occurred. So we sign it and we can see the video when that happened and who did it. But at this time, when the violation happened, we received later on a letter say that it was a violation, but it was like 10 days later on. And we're looking for the video, everything, but we can find nothing because our camera is 10 days, is 8 days video. And after that, the video expires. So we cannot see exactly what happened and who did it and everything. But well, if we did it, okay, we accept it. But what I am calling is because what we appear is because there was no report given to us. Nobody gave me information the same day that we did a violation. We did a violation, so that's why we don't even know who did it, when this happened, and that's why we try to appeal.
And to the board, I will say that in the past, although we weren't required to do this, we did issue a handwritten, like a 21D ticket, same as a parking ticket, like similar. We don't do that with the state law because of the fine amounts and the safety issues that happen or can be problematic when we're with the youth. So we send them a certified letter after the violation has occurred, which is common practice for a lot of how we issue fines.
Okay.
Oh, Joyce, 1 second, sir. 1 second. Joyce?
Yes.
The violation itself has a date on it, correct?
Correct.
The violation itself has a time on it?
Correct.
The violation itself has what the violation actually is?
Yes, and in this case,
sale
this
to a minor
gentleman.
or whatever.
Yep, and in this case, this gentleman came in and was trying to get a description of the person who sold, and we provided that to him. So the person who was at his store.
Notification. 1 second. Our notification our responsibility to any store owner is to inform them of the violation, and that's what the ticket does, right? Well, that's what the violation itself does, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, sir, do you have anything else you want to present to the board on your behalf?
No, we just we try to see why we don't get like I used to be a report right away the same day, say that's happened, so we can see exactly in the video who did it and why, what time. So
We
don't
also
know.
have a
What the
product.
violation tells you, the violation tells you the date and the time.
Mhm.
So I don't know how you keep your records of who works or whatnot. That's not really none of our business, but I mean, that's your
I
job to
understand.
figure out who did it. So it doesn't have to
Yeah,
again,
I think
I agree with what you're saying.
I think I have to have hard drive that can have longer time to expire because my drive is only 8 days longer. So after 8 days, then my everything disappear.
Well, here's what it boils down to, sir. It doesn't matter the day or the time. You're never supposed to sell to anybody under the age of a certain age.
Yeah.
And what's happened is you got a ticket that says you did from a government representative whose job is to enforce the sales to proper folks. So I'm gonna cut you off now. I'm gonna say, Mike, I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to deny the appeal and uphold the $1,000 fine.
Okay, I am relinquishing the chairmanship. I am seconding that motion. I'm recapturing the chairmanship. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next.
Okay.
Michelle?
Mr. Doe. D-O. I'm not sure. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, very well. Thank
You
you.
too. H-I. Okay, we're gonna, Mr. Doe, could you please tell us the address of your establishment?
17 High Rock Street.
17 High Rock. Okay, we're gonna ask you to hold on 1 second. Joyce, can you describe the violation and the date and all that?
Yes, I can. And this is D&T Market at 17 High Rock. The violation occurred April 9th at approximately 10:49 a.m. It's a first violation and it's $1,000 fine.
Okay, Mr. Doe, your job is to inform the board as to why there was not a violation and why you should not be cited. So that's your job, Mr. Doe. I'm sorry.
Well, I do take full responsibility for what happened, but it's just I'm guessing by what I've been hearing so far about the fine, because the fine $1,000 is kind of steep for kind of like a first-time violation for selling to a minor. Because previously it was 100, but I know you guys have no control over that. It's just that $1,000 fine is a little bit steep.
Yeah, I think it's a hefty fine too, and what it does is it proves why you got to make sure you don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, you've been listening to all these hearings. The board is handcuffed. Someone else gives us the fine, and we're just lucky people to sit here and listen to people tell us why they shouldn't be fined for breaking the law. And there are times where something happens that nobody, knows about or sees, and something's done improperly, and that's what the appeal process is for. I firmly believe that judgment in the hands of anyone is not a good remedy to run anything, especially in an authoritative fashion, because there should be a clear-cut fine. If the violation is there, clear-cut, then the fine's clear-cut, and I can't say Joe Jones that I like, I'm only going to fine $100 and the other one's going to get $1,000. That's not the way it works.
Of course.
So your gripe really, Mr. Doe, and rightfully so, is that the fine seems a little bit unfair for the violation. The fine doesn't fit the crime, right?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we try.
Unfortunately, even if we agree with you, there's nothing we can do about that. We didn't make the fine.
I mean, what do? I mean,
so again, for the sake of expediency here, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I have this business plan. I've been up here for since 2008, and every now and then we try our best to ID everyone, but every now and then it's just mistakes happen. It's like nothing you can do about it. It's just sometimes we just have a slip train of thought.
Well, one good thing, it's your first violation, so you must be doing something right before here. And maybe it was a mistake, it's a costly mistake, but there's nothing there's no relief the board is afforded to give you.
Yes.
So Michael, I'm looking for a motion.
Well, before that, Ron, Mr. Doe, were you coming before us to appeal, or just state that you felt that the fine was too steep?
I felt more like the fine is a bit too steep because I did kind of feeling that I did make a mistake that day when I was calling back. I was like, I think I probably made a mistake there.
Okay,
it's just it's more of the fine.
So you admit the guilt and you're not appealing that?
No, I'm not appealing that.
Okay, do we even need a motion then?
No. Is Jimmy
We
still here?
apologize.
No.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Jay Rana.
Good evening, respected board. My name is Jenica, and I am the owner and the manager of the Ocean Liquors. We are located at 780 Washington Street, Lynn. The reason, first of all, I would like to apologize that we made a mistake. The reason why I came to appeal, because I received the letter after 10 days where the same issue, I couldn't see any of the recording. The main thing for me is who was my employee who sell to the minor. Yes, I committed that I have made the mistake. We have made the mistake, and in future we will follow all the rules and regulations, and we'll come up with the whatever the rules and regulations are with the city of the Lynn. When I came to this city, it's been 6 months, but I have been working in the stores for past 12 years, and there has been no violation on my name. When I came to the city, very first day, I went to the Joyce. I tried to contact the Joyce, what we can sell, what we cannot sell in this city, what are the rules and regulations. I immediately tried to contact Joyce. And thank you so much, Joyce. You have been so kind to us and very helpful and very guidance that you provide all the guidance, whatever I was needing when I was new to the city. But the only thing, I could not see anything to prove myself innocence or to prove that who was my employee and who sold it to the minor. Because the letter doesn't even, there was no indications or there was no description. So my request to the board.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Ma'am, let me interrupt you for a second. This is Chairman Dupuy.
Yes, sir.
You pay your employees and you have payroll records that says who works what day, right?
Right. But on that day, what happened?
Okay, let me finish. Let me finish. Okay. So the ticket tells you what day the offense occurred, right? So you can find out who was working that day.
So what happened on that day, I was going to work and I was sick because I took the second shot of the COVID. I couldn't go to the work. And in emergency, I had to tell my husband and one of the employee, I don't know who was going to come there. And because of the second shot, I wasn't like able to understand anything or see anything, but I just called my husband, can you please help me? Can you please help me? I was doing like that way. And then when I went there, who was the employee? Then I found out that the employee was there. And then, but he says that he did not sell to the minor. Now, another thing, my cameras, it reboots itself after 5 days of the recording. So I cannot prove now but still I apologize. I really apologize for, and I am going to follow all the rules and regulations.
I believe your apology is heartfelt, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
as
sir.
You've been hearing through these other
But
hearings,
one more request.
We really don't have any wiggle room.
Yes, but my only request is, see in the letter, if you can give me the description, not only to me, all of us, the description of the employee, so that at least we come to know that who that employee was. And second thing, I even don't know whether that employee asked the ID.
Let me answer. Time out. You got to understand, it is your responsibility to track your employees to know who works when and what they do. The city of Lynn is not responsible to tell you who's working for you, who broke the law. We're just responsible to tell you what they did and when they did it. It's your responsibility to figure out who was working there that day. We can't we wouldn't be able to do it. You know, we don't have any right to say to them, what's your name, so we can put you on a report.
No, but at
We don't
least,
have that authority. We can only say that you sold the cigarettes and that's it.
yes,
That's all we
but
can say.
I work in the Boston also, where they give the description of the employee that, okay, he was a Chinese guy or he was an Asian guy, he was short or something like that. It comes every time it comes in the letter if the violation has been done.
Okay, we'll take that under consideration. Mike, we're looking
Please.
for a motion.
Please. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm really very, 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 very
Thank
sorry.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Joyce,
That's
first
okay. I know
offense,
you are.
$1,000 fine?
Thank you.
Yes, correct. First offense, $1,000 fine. And actually, just for the Board of Health to know, Jenica did come into the office and we did provide her with a description.
Do you have a date and time, Joyce, please?
Yes, as indicated,
Well, we're not
April
required by
13th,
law to do that, correct?
1:18 p.m.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
Motion
Mike,
to
we're looking
deny
for
the
a
appeal and
motion.
uphold the $1,000 fine.
Okay, I'm relinquishing the chairmanship, seconding the motion, recapturing the chairmanship. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Michelle?
Golam Mortoza.
Hello?
Mr.
Mr.
Mortoza?
Sosa?
Hello? Moving on.
MD.
Rome, it says MD Golam Mortoza. You're on mute if you're trying to speak. I'm trying to unmute you and you're not. It's not.
Yes, hello. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
You
Yes,
can
I
now.
am MD Gulam Mortoza.
And what store do you own, sir?
Actually, Benji's Convenience Store, 250 Chatham Street, Lynn, MA.
Chatham Street?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Thank you.
What street was that again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Chatham Street?
Yes.
Okay. thank
Chatham.
The
Yeah.
establishment
you.
is
Okay,
Benji's.
hold on one second, Mr. Souza. Go ahead, Joyce.
The violation occurred on April 13th at approximately 12:17 in the afternoon. It is their first violation, a $1,000 fine.
May I tell something, please?
Okay, hold on one second, Mr. Souza, because I want to give you a little bit of direction. Your job is to inform the board as to why the violation did not occur. Okay? That is the only grounds for which this board can take any action. If you can prove that the violation did not occur or that we cited you in error and we should have been citing someone else. So go ahead, Mr. Souza, you're free to speak.
Yes, that's a little store, and this we are continue this store over 6 years, and I think so. We have no record about any kind of violation, but that day about the and we are facing very bad time right now. The $1,000 fine that we are 1 month we can make from the tobacco item $1,000. That's the situation now. And that day, what happening, I didn't get the correct evidence about this. And here, no employee worked, only me and my wife worked here. So we are not sure what kind of evidence. Otherwise, we are, for the COVID situation, we are little irregular. We often store little late, we close little early. So that time, what happening? We don't know what happened that day actually.
Okay, Mr. Souza, I think you're trying to blame your wife, but that's what we all do. And here's the thing. Here's what happened on April 13th. What time, Joyce? 2:17. Did you have a time on her?
12:17.
At 2:17,
No,
you
12.
sold
12.
cigarettes to a minor.
Ron,
12:17, you sold
Yep.
cigarettes to a minor.
If I,
So
it
that's
was
what happened.
backwards. It was a package of backwoods. And actually, if he and his wife were the only two working, he actually followed the youth out. He watched her walk down the street. So I'm assuming it was him. If he said it was only him and his wife working, that's who the sale was made by.
Okay.
It was backwoods.
All right. Okay. Mike, I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to deny the appeal and uphold the $1,000 fine.
May I request you something, please?
Mr. Souza, hold on one second, please. I am relinquishing the chairmanship. I am seconding the motion. I'm recapturing the chairmanship. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Souza, the only thing that you can do is prove that the violation never occurred, and we have a ticket from a government agency saying it did occur. We have no choice unless you can give us proof that it never occurred. It's about as simple as I can put it.
So may I do any request, please?
Next, Michelle.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, what was that, sir?
Oh, Romy. Romy.
Yes, hi. Good evening, Council. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Great, thank you. Actually, I'm presenting D&M Variety, 99 Commercial Street, Lynn.
99 Commercial?
Yes.
What is the name of your store, sir?
Pardon?
What is the name of your store?
D&M Variety.
Okay.
Okay,
So
Joyce.
Yep, the violation occurred April 12th at approximately 7:11 p.m. It is a second violation within 36 months, a $2,000 fine, and a 7-day suspension would come along with that.
What was the fine again? I'm sorry.
$2,000.
Okay, Mr. Wellman, again, you've been listening to all these hearings. The only thing you can do to inform us is give us some evidence or proof or discussion that the violation never occurred and that we are citing you in error. That is the only way we could ever take any action.
With all due respect, Mr. President, I would like to see violation. We did have the violation, but I would like some of the scenarios being as a representative. We've been taking numerous steps since this is a violation happened after 3 years, going through what the COVID times and whatnot. The cashiers, we've been training quarterly how to deal with that. Since we got the communication also from in 2020 from the Joyce not to selling any flavored tobacco, we immediately removed everything, tried to be compliant with the laws of the city and being a law-abiding citizens and do whatever we can in our reaches. So unfortunately, a day before and that day, same thing happened, and a couple people we returned. And the clerk was actually had got and argued with somebody for not selling the cigarette. He was wearing the mask, and the person who came to minor who came to actually was returned before this violation, a day before too. And the day this violation happened, the person was wearing very heavy clothes and mask and whatnot, and we was totally, it's our fault that he did not ask for the ID. But only thing I want to represent is like, we are okay with the fine. City will agree there's a plenty of hardship. We basically don't make day-to-day needs as well. Imposing 7 days ban will literally bring us to the grounds. You know, it's really, really hard for us and harsh for us for 7 days. We will do all the measurements, and just to let the city council know, we are closely working with the software industry for the further foremost in the future steps. Our registers will not operate at all for the tobacco sales or anything without entering anybody's date of birth. So we are training our staff again on that. And only thing I would like to ask is, we are okay with the fine and we are more than happy to pay for it. We want to be cooperative with the city laws. We want to be law abiding. The only thing is 7 days suspension is very, very harsh for us. And that might have some serious financial destruction to our business and entirety. Even the payroll and the other part we are jeopardizing right now because of COVID, everybody shopping outside. Being a local, we are really, really suffering a lot. and just requesting a humble request from us to be in the business to eliminate the 7 days. And we can assure the city that we will not be violating with the implementation of the new software and quarterly training our employees.
Okay, Mr. Roman, if you were listening to the 7 or 8 or 9 hearings that we were doing, it's a state regulation. The board does not have any authority waiver from the punishments that are associated to the step-by-step violations. Even if we wanted to, we couldn't get rid of the 7 day. Even if we wanted to. The only way we can get rid of the 7 days is if we prove there was no violation at all whatsoever. You know, and listen, I hear you. It's tough out there. And my brother, Commissioner, pointed out earlier that we've always prided ourselves on trying to give people the benefit of the doubt and not put people out of business. But when it's a clear-cut violation and the rules are clear-cut, we don't have any wiggle room. You heard our own attorney tell us, nope, you have to follow the law. I feel for you, but there is nothing that we can do. We don't have that authority to say, just give them the fine, don't give them the 7 days. We don't have that authority. And quite frankly, I don't want that authority because I don't want to pick and choose who gets the 7 days and who doesn't. Let the law do it. You know? So I apologize for the hard times. I don't know what the hell the city does as far as collecting and stuff, if you can pay over time or how that works. I don't know any of that, but I apologize for you waiting all this time to hear back. But I don't think there's anything we can do other than say, we like you. You obviously most of the time do a good job. We just don't want to see you at one of these hearings, you know?
I totally agree with
Mike,
you,
I'm
sir.
looking for a motion. I'm sorry, sir.
Motion to deny the appeal and uphold the $2,000 fine and the 7 days suspension.
I'm relinquishing the chairmanship. I'm seconding the motion. I'm recapturing the chairmanship. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roman. I'm sorry it couldn't work out better. Next,
thank you,
Michelle.
Sahabik.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. And what is the name of your business, please?
I think it's Sahab Chaudhary, right? My name?
Yes, SAHABC.
Yeah, or sahabc@AOL.com. Yes, this is me. Convenient Station, 570 Western Avenue, Lynn.
Okay.
Okay, hold on one second, ma'am. Joyce, you're on.
Okay, 570 Convenience Station, Weston Ave, April 7th at 12:56 p.m. It is their first violation and a $1,000 fine.
Okay, ma'am, again, like I've been telling everybody, you heard our predicament here. Your job is to prove to the board that the violation was given in error or that it never occurred. So go ahead.
Hi, sir. It is happens, but you know, so I've been listening all this, hearing. So my request is we've been in business for a long time and trying to do all the city rules and application. We've been trained for people to do their job right. This is unfortunately happened due to this, the COVID and the other, mask wearing. The employee have been working for last 12 to 13 years. They all been aware of this. They have to ask for ID. So if it looks like, under 30 years or less, this is unfortunately happened. So I know this is very tough time during this COVID time, and those $100,000 fine is very, very hard for us to do this. I know this is so. Our request is, so if it's possible, we can get some break out of this, so we'll be very careful in future, so don't let that be happen.
Okay, so, there's no doubt that you do a good job if you've been in business all them years. It's your first violation. But unfortunately, again, I sound like a broken record, the board has no authority to waiver from the violation and the associated fine. We don't have that choice. So Mike, I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to deny the appeal and uphold the $1,000 fine.
Okay, I'm relinquishing the chairmanship, seconding the motion, recapturing the chairmanship. Well, we're gonna blame John for all this talk. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry it worked out this way for you. Okay, Michelle?
Next one is Salia Houdin. Yes. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Good evening to you. And your name of your store, sir?
Convenience Station, 2 Union Street.
Okay. Convenience Station, 2 Union Street.
Okay, Joyce, you're on.
Okay, this
Joyce?
violation occurred April 20th at approximately 5:35 p.m. First
What was the
violation,
violation?
$1,000 fine.
It was sales to a minor?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, sir, again,
Yes, sir.
you know, the board is very limited in what we can do, so your job is to prove to us why the violation was in error.
Well, sir, if I could explain to you, as soon as I received the letter, I talked with my clerk, and we're doing this business over 20 years anyway. So we train them, well trained, and always make them in mind that to check the IDs all the time. But unfortunately, this happened. But the thing is, my clerk, he's refusing it again and again. He said, no, I don't. You can check the video. You can check everything. I didn't, at that time, I gave him the letter in his hand and tell him, and he checked the video. He said, you check the video and bring the city officer or something. Like any minor, I didn't sell any cigarettes. So that's why I said, let's see what happened. Normally, this is my question to the board. It used to be when any, what is that, violation happened, normally the inspector come back and check with the register that you sold the cigarette or whatever the tobacco to the minor. But I'm very disappointed. Why it does not happen? It should be proved something that the clerks sold the tobacco to the minor and they gave a ticket, or at least he realized that he did mistake. Now, how you can prove it? The clerk is refusing it, and he says, check the video. I didn't sell anything. So I don't know. That is how we can, provide you any kind of proof or anything. And that's why. And the financial condition is very bad over there. Where is my store? A lot of, all the time, people, they break everything, steal everything. We call the police, they never come. And when they come, call us again. So it is very hard for us to do the business there. And in this time, $1,000 fine on the top of this thing is very hard. We are about to close the store. We are about to close the store because we can't sell it. We put it on the market last 2 years. So I hope you will consider at least. It is very hard for us to give the $1,000 fine. That is my earnest request to the board. At least you could consider something,
All right, sir, let me speak to your comments. There is only one burden of proof that the board looks at, and that is the information from the enforcement component. What that means is, if Joyce's trained people go in your store and they say you sold to a minor, that's all we have to hear. He has the authority to write you a ticket and fine you, and you have the right to appeal it. But when you appeal it, you have to prove that it never happened in your store. and we have an independent person that has nothing, doesn't work at your store, maybe never even been in your store, saying, you sold me cigarettes and I'm not 21 because you didn't ask me for an ID. That's exactly how it happened. As far as who sold it to him, let me finish, sir. As far as who sold it to him, you got to go back and look at your work records to see who was working that day, because the date and time is on the violation.
No,
okay.
Sir, if I could
So,
talk.
Mike, I'm looking for a motion. Sir,
sir,
you had your opportunity to speak.
Can I talk?
Your opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Sir.
Yes.
I'm telling you that you cannot talk. You had your opportunity to speak.
Oh, that's fine. Sorry.
But I will let you make a comment. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
Go
no,
ahead.
sir. The thing is,
Sure,
I spoke with the clerk. My question is, he refused that he didn't sell. So that's why I'm wondering. It used to be inspector come back again and talk with the clerk who is there. You sold a cigarette or tobacco stuff to the minor. That was the proof. That is over there. Now I'm challenging with him. You did it. He said, no, I didn't. Where's the proof? I said, check the video. Check the video.
Well, the proof is the ticket that you got from Joyce's.
I know, it's too late. It is too late, sir.
Ultimately, it's your responsibility to never sell to a minor.
No.
You don't need proof from us to not sell to a minor. That's the law.
I understand the law. I understand your question. My question is, we are in a fixed position now. Clark said I didn't, but we have a letter violation. I mean, how we can prove it? It is better the inspector come back and tell the clerk, hey, you did the mistake. You did sold the tobacco to the minor. That is over there. Then violation is there.
Sir, if I may, real quick.
Please.
The proof of the violation was the ticket that you received.
Yeah, I understand that.
That's the proof.
My argument is with the clerk now. He refused.
Okay, and I understand your argument, but you have no proof.
Definitely not. Yeah, no, I understand that.
You have no proof. So therefore,
if the inspector says, I have to respect that. I respect it.
So therefore, I'm making the motion that the appeal is denied and the $1,000 fine is upheld.
Relinquishing the chairmanship, seconding the motion, recapturing the chairmanship. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Sani Patel.
Hi, I'm calling on behalf of Romans Market.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
What was the address?
Okay, so this was one of the few stores you mentioned earlier that had 3 violations and a 37-day suspension with the $8,000 fine, right?
Correct.
This is
What's the
on
address?
Romans Market. Roman.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what is your address, sir?
116 Broad Street, Lynn.
Okay.
So 3 violations, correct? We do. So my uncle was working at the store at the time. I just operate, manage, whatever you want to call it. But we do. He admits to doing 2 of the violations, which was selling to underage. He didn't ask for an ID, and the second was the nicotine content. It was 5%. It was a 5% jewel pod.
1 second, Mr. Senapel. Hold on 1 second. You're a little bit out of turn. We need Michelle to tell us. Michelle. We need Joyce to tell us the violation, and then you can speak to that after, okay?
That's what I was waiting
Joyce.
for, yeah, but no one said anything here.
Oh.
So, okay. And
That's okay. Hold on. Go ahead, Joyce.
This was one that we spoke about earlier, but the compliance check happened April 6th, approximately 8:39. It's a stacked violation, so it's a first, second, and third violation. It is an $8,000 fine and a 37-day suspension. And the stacked fines were the fact that they sold to a minor. They sold 5% jewel pods, which I have right here. And they sold mint jewel pods, which are in violation. No flavored products are supposed to be sold anywhere. We also got a tip from, well, we have had several complaints about this establishment in the past. And this was one of the ones that we had received a complaint from the police department. But like all the others, it was one of, doing the entire city, and this violation occurred.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, sir. Can you explain to us why the violations are incorrect, please?
Okay, so I have video evidence from that time, exactly what you said, April 6th, 8:39 p.m., right? And I have the video of the kid coming in, them doing the whole exchange. And I freeze framed on like the product that she gave. And if you compare the two, like the mint and the tobacco, it's pretty evident to see, which is which, because one's darker clearly and that one's lighter. So I have the video evidence, and that it clearly looks like a Virginia one. And I know what's in the store because I manage it. And we've never had mint jewel pods from there. So I don't know where she got that evidence that she was showing us, but that was the first one. And then the second thing is, if there were complaints, with the police station and anything, we never got any like warnings or anything like that. Is that usual process to like give out warnings if you had them, or you guys just, I guess let it,
You'd have to ask the police department.
In compliance.
Yeah, I'm not denying. The
it's
underage and all that.
Excuse me, sir. Sir. It's every business owner's responsibility to be in compliance, and
correct.
Part of the method trying to make people comply is going there when they don't expect it and see if you're going to sell them something you're not supposed to sell them, which sounds like what might have happened to you. I think,
no, definitely,
Mr. Sitter, I think what's going to have to happen here is we're not going to get into video evidence or video evidence from Joyce or anything like that. But if you have been aggrieved and you feel that you didn't really sell what was sold, you're going to have to take this to district court and appeal it further. We're not a trial court. We're not a court. We're just at a board. In other words, it would have to be something as simple as like, I own 116 Broad Street, but it really happened at 216 Broad Street. You wrote the wrong place. That's the only time we could ever even kill a fine. If the authority that checks for compliance tells this board, this happened, this is the many a times that it happened, these are the rules that say what has to happen if it does happen, we're like just the final avenue in case something didn't happen properly along the way. I'm not saying it didn't, but for this board and our responsibilities, if the enforcement agency brings to our attention that these three things occurred, and it's a big fine and a big 37-day, I'd go to court too. Maybe a judge may have more wiggle room than us as a board. I don't know, but I can't take your word saying we never sell that stuff. We got a guy that who's hired to get paid. You know what I mean? We're kind of like stuck in a hard place here.
No, I get it. Yeah. It's
all right. So, Mike, I'm looking for a motion. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So as far as taking it to district court, going back to that, is there like a certain? Do I just how do I go about that?
I will get you that.
Joyce, didn't you say that you give? Yeah.
Go ahead, Joyce. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. As I indicated earlier, we'll be sending out to all of the people who appeared tonight a letter of if they want to appeal this to district court, we'll send them the instructions of what they have to do.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I think that's all there really needs to be said, I think. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. So, Mike, we're looking for a motion.
Motion to deny the appeal and uphold the $8,000 fine.
$8,000.
And how long is the suspension, Joyce? I'm sorry.
37 days.
37 days suspension.
Relinquishing the chairmanship, seconding the motion, recapturing the chairmanship. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, Michelle.
And the last one. Hi. The last one is Mr. Raman. I think Vista Market.
Hello.
Salah Raman.
Yep.
Vista Market.
Vista Market.
And where's that located, ma'am?
Yes. So the owners are my parents, and they don't speak English or understand English very well. That's why, I'm the daughter. On behalf of them, I would like to get your permission, to talk for them, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, hold on 1 second, hon. Go ahead, Joyce.
So this violation occurred April 20th at approximately 5:11 p.m. It's a second violation, a sale to a minor, a $2,000 fine, and a 7-day suspension.
Okay, ma'am. You have to give us proof that the violation never occurred.
Thank you so much for letting me speak. So the violation occurred according to the city hall. So, but I would like to tell you some scenario in between so that we are all like have a better understanding about this. So my father, he's a 69-year-old man. He's not very strong person. When he sees like four young people in the door of his store, because if you look at the location of that store, it's in Union Street and Essex Street. Sorry, it's on Essex Street, and there's like a lot of violations there. Like people crime there. People come to their store and break the windows, take chips, chocolates like that. So they have reported to the police many times. So the thing what happens is that whenever they disagree to any person to sell anything, they face retaliation afterwards. And it's for him actually, for being such an old guy and language barrier, he faces a lot of problem for that. So if these people who came in the store, first of all, there were 4 people, one guy, and then there were 3 other guys standing near the door. So at first he ignored to sell them the cigarette, and then the guy who asked for the cigarette, he was a little violent. He started threatening afterwards. So why would they create such an environment where the business owner would feel unsafe? And that's the problem. He got scared. He was afraid, and he took promise from them that please don't come in my store again. And so they said, yeah, you have to sell it today. They were provoking him and they were forcing him. So he did that. And the thing is, like, by the time they call police, people come and damage the store. And during this COVID situation, there's not a lot of sale. So either way, they're hurt financially, and like either there are like broken, damaged properties in the store, or they get with these fines. So if you guys, you guys, I know that you guys support little business owners, these small business owners, but please also support them. How can they go do their business without this kind of threat? Like if these people are from City Hall, so they are well trained, but there is no way to know. If they were not from City Hall, they were not professional guys, they could come back the next day and break maybe the window, maybe damage one of their property in the store. So these kind of things they have been facing for years. They have been complaining to the police many times about these kind of situations. So there is no solution came up so far.
Can I ask you a question? Did you come with your parents prior to the board before us?
No, never.
Do you have another sister?
Yeah, my sister probably, my younger sister probably went once.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like I am really.
Joyce, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, hold on 1 second. Joyce,
Yes.
what was the financial fine on this?
$2,000. And to the chair and the members of the board, I have to say, obviously, this was not our youth. We send in one youth There's not a gang of kids, and he didn't even purchase
Rita.
cigarettes, which he had indicated. He purchased back plates.
My father is
Yeah.
saying that he told Joyce later on that there were actually three other
Mrs.
guys
Rahman.
standing there.
Okay,
in the-
Mrs. Rahman, I have to cut you off. We've
Yes.
given you ample time to make your case. I must say, the fact that it's a second violation, which carries a heavy load, I mean, you knew the rules and you're not, it's very simple. Nobody gets cigarettes if they don't show an ID that they're old enough to buy them. And it seems, and I don't mean to be hold on, ma'am. I don't mean to be aggravated at you, but it's the same story for the last 15 people that we're speaking to. You wouldn't be here if you asked for an ID. Unfortunately, I might have misheard you because I'm deaf, but you know, we're not trying to trick anybody. We're just supposed to try to make sure people are doing what they're supposed to do according to the law. Okay?
Sir, I did it.
So I'm gonna ask
I did it.
ma'am, you had your chance to speak, ma'am.
Listen
Ma'am.
to me, sir.
Ma'am, I gave you,
Please hear to me. I did it, and that guy admit that he is 18 years old. But I denied to sell. I denied to sell, but that guy threatened me. And this one, later on I met with Joyce and told her.
okay.
And he
I'm going to
can't say-
repeat something that I said earlier. Unfortunately, the board has to go with the recommendations that have been given to us by law. And if you feel you've been aggrieved, you have a right to go to the courthouse and have a judge overturn the decision. We do not have the authority to overturn the decision. Okay?
That's okay, sir.
Mike, I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to deny the appeal and uphold the $2,000 fine and the 7-day suspension.
Okay, I'm gonna relinquish the chairmanship, second the motion, recapture the chairmanship. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, sir, for your time. The chairman is gonna make a motion right now to adjourn. We are not gonna talk about anything more on the agenda. We all worked hard today. Michelle, we're meeting next week. We'll take care of the COVID update then. Is that okay with you?
I'm very happy about that. Thank you.
So, sir, I have a very quick question. So, is this going to a court? Does it mean with the motion?
If you want to bring it to court, that's up to you.
Okay, that's what the motion means.
No, the motion means that you are responsible for a $2,000 fine and a 7-day suspension.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Jim, before you leave, Michelle and I, and I'm not gonna be leading this a long time. Michelle and I had, and Mike, I meant to talk to you about this too, had discussed when our staff goes out and determines, for instance, on the Four Winds thing, where does it say 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, how many ever days? And there really isn't any broken down, you know, it's a judgment call. And to me, judgment calls are trouble. So I think the board is going to discuss trying to set up some type of a format where it automatically kicks into the punishment so nobody has to decide whether it's 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, whatever the heck it is. So we might be reaching out to you for some help on that.
I'd be glad to help, and that would be our recommendation here in the law department, is to have a set punishment schedule with some leeway, whether it's 1 to 3 days, 3 to 7, 7 to 10. But rather than having it open-ended, I think that's susceptible to a challenge.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, thank you, Jim, so much. You spent a lot of time with us. We appreciate your expertise and your guidance. And you'll get home in time for the second half of the Bruins or the Celtics, whichever one you want to watch. And Mike, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Nice job, everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
Joyce. Thank you very much, Joyce. I saw you
Thank
blushing
you,
earlier
Joyce.
when somebody called you on something, but I didn't want to embarrass you in front of everybody. Listen, thank you so much, Michelle, for your hard work. Lisa, if you're still there, I don't know. Mike, always a pleasure. We're going to milk you until you leave. And we'll see you guys next week.
We'll do it
Bye.
next week and we'll do it the following month.
Orders laid over from the last meeting, but I'll read them in council.
You could, okay,
Okay.
read the council, okay. Thank you
And
so
there's
much.
No new business.
Any new businesses? What did you, okay. All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Everything along.
All rise. I'm sorry, roll call. Whoa.
Council Barton? Present. Council Chakutis? Present. Council Calucci?
Present.
Present. Council Field?
Present.
Present. Council Hogan?
Present.
Present. Council LaPierre?
Present.
Present. Council Lozey? Present. Council Net? Present. Council Stabbard? Present. Council Walsh?
Present.
Present. Council Seer?
Present, all rise for a moment of silence. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Communications,
We have no communications.
public hearings,
We have no public hearings.
public hearings to be set now.
We have 41 Sutton Street, sign permit for Chow Restaurant. 43 State Street, a sign permit for Stop in Campari Supermarket. And 877 Western Ave, Juan Perilla's Bar and Grill to expand seating area into the vacant space next door.
It's the wish of the council.
Let them down. Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion, roll call.
Counsel Barton? Yes. Counsel Chakutis? Yes. Counsel Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Lozey? Counsel Lozey? Absent. Counsel Net? Yes. Counsel Stabbard? Yes. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Seer?
Yes. Committee reports. Public Properties and Parks, Councilor Stabbard.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a packed agenda. The first item was presentation by Damiani Garrido and Carlos Bernencio on the Black Lives Matter mural. Did a PowerPoint presentation. It was also televised. There was a unanimous vote of the committee to move it forward to the full council for a vote.
Is that vote to allow them to put the mural on the street, Councilor?
Yes. Motion to approve.
Motion made.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Councilor Stabbard.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to thank Damiani and Carlos for coming before us tonight. I think our first COVID visitors that we've had here. This has been something that the council president, Councilor Hogan, has put countless time into in meeting with these two individuals and their committee. I've had discussions with them as well. I have, on numerous occasions, voiced my concerns and my opposition regarding the site and where it was to be located. In front of the courthouse. I think we should all view the courthouse as a place where justice is blind. And I thought that perhaps there were better locations. I walked out of my front door tonight with the anticipation that I was going to vote in opposition of this, as I think would have been no surprise to these two sitting here tonight and their group of proponents. I think that over the course of the past year, we've seen a lot of divisiveness in the city, probably more so than in my 57 years of living in Lynn. I'm hoping that this will help bring folks together rather than push us apart. And because of that, and thinking of that, and listening to these two young people tonight, knowing how driven they are, knowing how much besides this effort that they've put into and done for the community, I think that the whole community should be proud of them. And again, I hope that this is a coming together more than a pushing apart. There was some stipulations that were made. We got